Yeah, I should not deleted it because now I have to reshare that link on the story. Can you get me a table? I listened on a search and I deleted the live because I was doing it on one side and so I had to make a new live. So everyone who joined is not on here. So this is a new live that I now have to publish on the thing. Somebody go join the live. Don't see what happened. Where do I go? YouTube? Yeah, go.
Yeah, say there's one bridge. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because you forget one's iPad is so weird on different things. Oh yeah. Oh, got it. I can't wait for it to have me talking shit about it because it's doing all audio right now.
I'm on it.
Are you on something?
No.
Oh yeah.
Got logged out.
Yeah, purposely, yeah. You need to check your rate. The check is just to say thumbs up. There's all the self-test you have to go there. All you need to do is copy their link from it. Yes, okay, happy days. And then carry on. It's just because you know. So it's once it goes to 22 degrees, you just it's like 2 degrees, you switch on the degrees. That's the
Just clicker kind of videotaping, so maybe.
You don't feel with me. Yeah, you go there.
a lot of clever boxes being repurposed because they're everybody knows what clever boxes are. Yes, absolutely.
I'm just looking at the back of the room to say, are we good? Yeah?
Yeah.
Great. So, welcome everybody. My name is Carl Fivey. I'm a local Cam and Thursley resident. I might call it the Cam bit actually, because it's a bit nicer than that. Controversial maybe. So, welcome everybody to Kingston House. It's great to see everybody here today. There's people from all over the world, there's people joining us. People who have travelled from, I think it's a bit of a competition really, from Italy, from Isle of Wight, from Miami, from the Midlands. So you're all very much welcome. And a huge thanks to Kingston House to host this wonderful event. It's great for you all to be here. We've got another sort of series of presentations or discussions to take place now to sort of close the day out. Your participation is welcomed and encouraged. So it's great to have input from you all as you see fit. But we'll start off really with, I think the most important part before we kick off any discussions about what's going on here is that we'll introduce the lead artist and the curator of this whole event, Charlie Purple.
Hello everybody. I'm really glad that we've got a whole room full of people because I was a bit worried that I was going to be just addressing so, and it's so many people from all over, like Carl said, so thanks for the intro. Yeah, we actually connected via a hashtag on Instagram. So the Arrhythmia Alliance, who are represented by Tracy today, had a campaign on Instagram which was Take Fainting to Heart. And as a fainter, I started posting about my experience with fainting and life with a heart condition as a, not as young as a lot of people in this room, but a reasonably still young person. Connected with Heart Charge, and then we just started chatting to each other, and I said, oh, in art, it's just not a big deal to see the female nude. It's just not a thing. I can't understand why it's such a barrier. Why don't we create a few art pieces, maybe make an Instagram account, and see if we can raise a bit of awareness for the Flash the Boobs campaign. And it snowballed into over 80 artworks, 37 artists, this beautiful venue, this big launch today, and it's just been absolutely wonderful working with everybody and connecting to people from all over the world. So we've got 5 different countries represented in the artworks. We've got artists who are advocates, we've got artists who are living with chronic conditions, who survived some cardiac arrest, who are grieving for people who didn't survive, and everything in between. And the most extraordinary thing is we've had people who have come and given their time, given their talents, and almost found out that we're doing the show, and then just said, what can I do to help? So it's been absolutely wonderful working on this over the past 12 months, and great to see it all finally up on the walls. So next up, we have Inoa, who's going to talk to us a little bit about why is it such a big deal to take a woman's top off, and what's the history behind it.
Hello everyone. Really interesting to properly connect with Charlie and invited to take part in this show because coincidentally I'm currently doing a PhD in fine art, and part of my research really tied in with the theme of the show. So I'll just briefly introduce myself. My name is Inoa Alves da Silva. I moved to the UK 27 years ago. I'm originally from Brazil. I did my BA in History of Art at Goldsmiths, University of London. I did an MA in Theology and History of Art at King's College London, and I'm doing my doctorate at the University of East London. And my practice as an artist is influenced by the fact that my father is a doctor. I grew up in hospitals, medical centers, seeing a lot of blood, wounds, etc. And I've been making these glass hearts. I hope people can see from a distance, sadly, the screen is not that big. But I've been making glass hearts for about 7 years now, in different shapes and sizes. I have 3 heart drawings downstairs. And this image here is work that I've been doing on Saint Agatha, who is the patron saint of victims of breast cancer. I know we have someone here in the room who will smell, going through that. And so, of course, Agatha has got to do with breasts. Her iconography shows her with her cut breasts on a platter. And so, both symbolism, breasts and hearts. So what Charlie's saying, and of course the Heart Charge of girls, and Hannah and Bethany saying, well, 2 of the reasons why women are less likely to survive a sudden cardiac arrest is because of their breasts, and that people feel comfortable flashing the boobs. Why? Well, I'll try and talk about that, looking back in history and how women have been presented. So this image here, I hope you can see, this is a sculpture called Artemis of Ephesus. This sculpture was produced in the 1st century. Ephesus is now a city in Turkey. It was a very, very important city in antiquity. And there were sculptures made like this a bit before the 1st century and a bit after. And you can see here is this goddess of fertility. And she has all these breast-like shapes here. Some scholars argue that no, they are not breasts, they are both testicles. Those represented here. But given where these shapes are located, it's kind of safe to assume that, they are meant to remind us of the capacity women have to breastfeed and sustain infant life. This is plenty of milk. At a time when there is no infant formula, when milk was not pasteurized yet, you could not feed your child with cow's milk or a goat's milk. You had to breastfeed your child. And so this goddess, incidentally a virgin goddess, representing fertility and abundance. During this time, the 1st century, so we're talking current era, so after death of Christ. I'm saying this not, for those who are Christians or not, but is that during this time, Paul the Apostle went to Ephesus, and Christians and pagans were in a kind of contentious relationship. And this goddess, was mentioned in Acts, written by Paul, began to be demonized. So one thing that's been engraved in Ephesus, it says, destroying the delusive image of the demon Artemis. Demeas has entered the symbol of truth, the god that drives away idols, and the cross of priests, deathless and victorious signs of Christ. So someone is scribbled across there. So that's the situation then. Going back in time a little bit, the 4th century before the current era, this image, this is a copy, but the original image is sculpted by Praxiteles in the 4th century before the current era. So it was a sculpture of Aphrodite meant for the temple of Cnidos. Praxiteles sculpted 2 versions, a dressed one and a nude one. And Cnidos took the nude one, and it was a huge success. Everyone loved the countless accounts of this sculpture. And this sculpture became a paradigm for how to present women. Long after Aphrodite lost all its theological signification, because at one point this was a devotional work of art, long after that, during the Renaissance, for example, Botticelli presents Venus exactly in the same pose as Aphrodite of Cnidos. Now, looking at the Roman copy of the 1st century, so around the same time that the Artemis was made, you can see that she hides her body demurely. If you look at the sculptures of male gods from that time, they all show their chest, proud to be men, whereas women hide. Here in Botticelli is interesting because Venus is definitely no longer worshipped as a goddess. For those who know the iconography of the baptism of Christ, see this figure here, how she does this over Venus. It's almost like she's baptizing Venus. And Venus is the goddess of love. During the Christian Renaissance, well, Christ was seen as the God of love. Christ is love. So actually you could interpret this scene as baptism of Christ. Yeah? So a lot of kind of very hidden messages here. Botticelli painted this in Florence in 1482. But let's stay with the image of the demure woman half covering her body. Now, these are these works are in the Uffizi Gallery in Florence, by the way. So during the same time that we looked at those images, now, say from the 14th century onwards, the Virgin Mary began to be depicted breastfeeding the Christ child. Before that time, the Virgin Mary was presented fully clothed, not breastfeeding the Christ child. What's happening around here? So this one is by Ambrogio Lorenzetti, Madonna del Latte, which was painted around 1348 in Siena, now lives in Siena. The 14th century in Italy, as Francesca surely will know well, was brutal. So the plague, the pandemic was horrendous. In Florence, like 4/5 of the population died from plague. There were famine, there were wars. So the image of a woman breastfeeding her child is hope, is spiritual sustenance, is the ability that life will go on. It was, kind of pretty bad at the time. And the milk of the Virgin began to be more associated with salvation. Usually is the blood of Christ, which is associated with salvation, yeah? So Christ dies on the cross, and that redeems the sins of humanity. And to the point that you see in this image here, I don't know if people can see properly, but there was in a cathedral in Germany, is a legend, is not true, okay? But it said that in the 10th century, in a cathedral in Germany, Speyer Cathedral, St. Bernard received the breast milk from the Virgin. And there is this iconography you see here. She holds her breasts and ejects milk into St. Bernard's mouth. And that's perceived as, the blessing of the blessings because you received the holy milk. And this is an image from an illuminated manuscript. Interestingly, you probably see that the Virgin's breast is not really like a real woman's breast. Just keep that in mind. But, it was usual that you would see a woman breastfeeding. Again, there's no infant formula. If your child is hungry, you just breastfeed your child in a public space. And then a little bit later, here, actually, this is a very interesting image. Here you have God the Father, and you have Christ, and you have the Virgin Mary. And Christ points to his wound, to his side wound, and with the other hand, he points at the Virgin, and she is offering her breast. You see all these people here, and she then points to them. So is this connection between God the Father, the salvific blood of Christ, and the salvific milk of the Virgin. So this message of hope. This piece is now in the Metropolitan Museum in New York. It was made around 1400. Again, Italy had just gone through another bad wave of plague around that time, and also an epidemic of syphilis. Because what happened is that a lot of people, during that time, was like, well, I'm going to die of plague anyway. I might as well enjoy life while I can. So syphilis was also rampant during that time. And then on this side, nearly 100 years later, is Leonardo da Vinci. So that iconography of baby Jesus looking out at us, holding the Virgin's breast, still quite a common image to see completely accepted. And Leonardo is very, very clever with his visual language. So the Christian God is a Trinity. So you see how he plays with the architecture here. So we have 3 windows, but the head of the Virgin covers the mid window. So we have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Very inclusive here. And the space where she's in is dark like a womb. And through the windows we see now the divine creation, earthly creation. I could talk a lot more details, but for what is worth for us here about the breast in art and how the breast is accepted, up to this point, fine. And then comes the Reformation. 1515 comes the Reformation. Truth to be told, there was a lot of problems in the Catholic Church. Well, there's a lot of corruption. So around that time, also what happens is that artists and doctors started to study the human body a bit more in depth. During the more intense Catholic times, there's a lot of taboo even opening up a body. Because the body's sacred, you need to bury the body, otherwise you're going to go to hell. And then doctors start saying, actually we need to understand the body. So in 1524, I think, that Andreas Vesalius teams up with a doctor and publishes the first anatomy book. Looking at this image here, I don't know if anyone can see, but can anyone kind of recognize this body in a way? Looking at it, I don't know if it's recognizable from a distance. Yeah. So it's almost like he's dissecting the Aphrodite of Venus, of Negus. It's very, very interesting that the female body has just become so attached to the sculpture that even in the first anatomy book, the model is of the Aphrodite. And we see like the kidneys are really high up, the breasts are kind of, almost hidden there. There's not much attention to the breasts, almost like it's forbidden ground. But to distinguish some kind of uterus here or ovaries is all very confused. But a first attempt. Anyone would like to guess who might have drawn this? Leonardo? Yes, and Leonardo as well. So Leonardo painted very sharp theological images, but also was a brilliant anatomist for his time. But here, where are the breasts? We see the heart here, but the breasts are just this flattened. It's almost like, what do I do with female breasts? And during this time, of course, the Council of Trent, iconoclasm starts to happen, all Christian images start to be destroyed, and in the Council of Trent 1516, it was decided that maybe it's best we don't show the Virgin with her bare breast. Now, around this time, also what's happening is that, well, first, the territorial expansion made by the Europeans, so Europeans are now arriving in South America, North America, there's all this mercantile expansion. And here in Europe, the guilds become very masculinized, they become little boys clubs. All the women are basically kicked out. The Reformation states that women really should just be mothers and that they should not work in any way, so women would be brewers and work in textiles, and suddenly, they can no longer participate in any of these activities anymore. And that means that we kind of no longer see women breastfeeding out in the marketplace anymore. And suddenly attitudes towards the breast began to shift. Two other things that happened at the time. Well, the invention of the printing press. So suddenly all this new material is being printed. Obviously the Bible, the Gutenberg Bible, so people, of course, the levels of literacy go up because people want to read the Bible, and translations of the Bible into common European languages began to come into being, but also pornographic material. A lot of pornography started being produced and widely distributed. So women stay at home, fetishized images, erotic images began to circulate, and then suddenly we start having this beginning of fetishized, commodified breast, and the breast as a religious symbol. That we have the Virgin transmitting this image of hope, the breast doesn't function as a religious symbol anymore, because it begins to be seen as both a medical object of study and an erotic object. Oh, no, what have I done? Sorry.
Or if you swipe 4 fingers. This door is so sweet.
Thank you. So here, I hope people can see this. So the other thing that needs to also happen with the demonization of women is the witch hunts. So as well as women not being able to work or do much, the women who had medical knowledge, who were midwives, healers, etc., all women began to be described as witches and burned at stake. Here's an image by Hans Baldung, German artist, painted just before the Reformation, 3 witches, and you see here an old witch with her older breasts and a younger witch with her young breasts. But women are evil. Sorry, louder. And here on this side, however, is kind of a contentious and ambivalent attitude towards women. We have the 3 graces. It's by the same artist, and the painting is called Harmony. The 3 graces is also a way of describing the 3 theological virtues, which are charity, hope, and faith. And they are beautiful women surrounded by angels. So very contradictory attitude towards women, but on one side of this, women were evil and the bad breast, and on this side, women were good and they have the good breast. I've done it again. Sorry. Just sorry. Okay, glad it's not.
It's not sorry.
So, quick question. Until now, I showed quite a few images. Does anyone can tell what do all the images I've shown until now have in common, apart from breasts?
Babies.
Apart from babies.
Or they're all white women?
Almost. Yeah.
Male artists?
Yes, they're all made by men, exactly. So, when we're talking about a sculpture of an amazing ancient goddess, of the amazing Virgin Mary, or a witch, they're all made by men. They're all images that are serving a male agenda. Even when we think of the Virgin's breast, is it still, a woman serving the agenda of the Catholic Church? All the clergy were men. So this is very interesting because in this image here, by Jean Fouquet, which is called is the right wing of an altarpiece, and it depicts the Virgin with baby Jesus. But it's one of the first times that we actually know who the woman in a painting is, because this is the other thing. What all the other images have in common is that they're all ideas of women. They are not real women. So they're male ideal. They're a good ideal or a bad ideal. And Agnes Sorel, the model for this painting, was the chief mistress for the King Charles VII of France. They had 3 kids, and then she died of child labor when their 4th child was being born. And it's a very controversial painting for the time because you have your mistress being presented as the Virgin Mary. And on this side, the American artist Cindy Sherman posed as Agnes Sorel for that painting. And what I love that Cindy Sherman has done is that she's given up her identity as a woman, the image of her own breast, and used this prop to pretend to be the Virgin. So she's now just being this, paragon of femininity, idealized paragon of femininity. And we know nothing about Cindy Sherman in this photo. Who is she? In the same way, if I didn't say, oh, that's Agnes Sorel, and told, oh, she's the mistress of the king, we wouldn't know anything. So when we think about the Virgin Mary, we think, well, what did Mary get up to every day? And who was she? How did she feel? And what was it like breastfeeding baby Jesus? And, where's the identity of women? So now I'm getting to the key point of this talk. Why people feel it's so difficult to undress a woman to save their lives. Let's look at the last image. Hopeless. Oh,
It's trying my time.
So again, this is another image by Cindy Sherman. And in this case, Sherman's taken a doll. She's kind of trashed the doll. And you see the face of the doll here. She produced a mirror of her face, the face of the doll, on her chest. So we see no heart and no breasts. Kind of given some identity to that chest, isn't it? The face. So I think that the reason why there's this difficulty in ripping a woman's clothes and flashing the boobs to save their lives is because we're so accustomed to looking at images of ideals, not of real women. We have to face a real woman with a name, an identity, an age, a job. So she might have been limpy because her knee aches or she's thirsty. Then suddenly it's a completely different relationship. She's not the Venus in the museum. She's someone and then suddenly that changes. I don't know, that's what I think. Does anyone have any thoughts? Because that's the question that we are trying to answer. It's kind of easy to get to the museum. Oh yeah, that's the Aphrodite. Oh yeah, that's the Virgin with the baby. And oh, baby Jesus looks so chubby and adorable. And oh, that's a weird boob that Mary has. But you're not talking to someone it's not a photo of someone you know. And I like this image precisely because the repetition of the face upside down like a mirror, and you're forced to look at that woman who's actually a doll, and where we at with being women and dolls. Thank you. Any questions? I don't know if you have time for questions. No?
What's part of the panel?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just going to take a few minutes, guys, just to set up the next event, if that's okay. Yeah, so those of you who are part of the next event, if you'd like to make your way. And we'll get to the top.
Okay. That's one lesson I think I've learned. 2.5 hours.
I know.
Oh, well, that's It's only a week before we had this discussion. Yeah, and also, a lot.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Okay, I think we're almost ready for our next and almost final part of the day. So this next event, if you like, is going to take us to the conclusion and the final piece where we'll donate an AED to the local community, which I think is a brilliant outcome for this whole day. So this next session is around an expert and diverse panel of various, let's say, conditions, experiences, lives lived, and let's say specialist artists as well, which is fantastic. So the idea of this really is for the guys to introduce themselves, offer their shared experiences, and please, I'd encourage interactive involvement of you guys, of yourselves, which would be brilliant. Any of your thoughts? I know we've got artists, we've got people with family members who have got heart conditions. So it's to make it an interactive session if you could, guys. And We'll do it for an hour or so and see where it gets us. And I maybe, or one of the guys, will try and wrap us all up at the end. So without further ado, we'll kick off with Gary.
No.
Please go on. Thanks very much, everybody.
For those at the back, if you can't hear me, just like put your hand up, but hopefully I can boom the voice down there. Thank you. My name is Gary Nicholas. I'm actually one of the country managers for a medical devices manufacturer called Zoll Medical. So we make defibrillators, AEDs, the ones that you've been playing with today, as well as ones that we supply to hospitals, to ambulance services, air ambulances, so a wide range of things. So I guess my expertise here today is really to demyth any kind of like nervousness you would have around using a defibrillator, certainly in like a public setting. So by all means, ask any questions as we go through.
My name is Keith Fisher. I'm a cardiac physiologist. I work in NHS, so I specialize in rhythm, echo, and work with emergency team alongside doctors implanting the device. And predominantly, I do follow-up clinic for all the patients with ICD defibrillators. So that's me. If you have any questions, by all means.
Hi, I'm Liz. I was a doctor for over 10 years in emergency medicine. That was my area. I left last year because I was diagnosed with lupus and a host of other autoimmune diseases, and I founded a charity as a result of my personal and professional experience. I'm also an artist. Around COVID, I started using art to explore messages of health from what I was experiencing on the front line during COVID. And that's when I realized there was such strength to be had in conveying messages visually other than just talking. And so I have a piece downstairs. And I was thinking when we were doing this demonstration earlier, how many cardiac arrests I actually attended, and more than I can actually count. So yeah, it's been quite interesting today.
Hi, my name's Steve. I'm heart charged. I'm a cardiac arrest survivor. And I've also had the unfortunate job of performing CPR on someone who didn't unfortunately make it. I suffer from mental health. And I'm really pleased to be here. I started my own charity on the Isle of Wight, and I'm pleased to say that we have put 149 defibrillators out across the island. And I'm more than happy to be here with my Annie family. So thank you.
I'm Hannah, one part of Heart Charged. I have hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or a big heart. I have an implanted defibrillator that saved my life when I went into cardiac arrest. I'm a filmmaker, so I'm usually the director and editor behind the Flash the Boobs to Save a Life content that you see on social media or YouTube.
Hi, I'm Bethany. I'm the other half of Heart Charged. Me and Hannah are sisters, if nobody knew. I also have hypertrophic cardiomyopathy and an implanted defibrillator, and I like to call myself a bionic babe. And I am so happy and so grateful for all of you guys here today with us.
So I don't think I need to introduce myself again. Okay. And if anyone wants more in there is some more of her in the catalogue. So I'll introduce myself again, just for any newcomers. Like if I've noticed sneaking in at the back, you probably know who I am. Hi, Dad. I'm Charlie Cracken, and I have been one of the artists on this piece, this project, and also the curator. So if you've got any artwork specific or artist specific questions, then feel free to, or on the practicalities of it. So that's me. I'm also a heart patient, which is how we initially connected. That's who I am.
Okay, any questions from the audience, or is there any other member of the panel who would like to share a bit more detail of their experiences or what they've come across with their conditions or their lives? Any questions from the audience first? Please.
Yeah, hi, I'm Joanna, I'm with Sudden Cardiac Arrest UK. What is the aim of your charity? It's obviously to create awareness, is there something else? Is it about getting AEDs around the country? What else are you hoping to do? I mean, what you're doing is brilliant. I just would like the.
Yeah, is it towards what is hard charge?
I guess. it
Yes,
is.
yeah, because yeah, like I guess because the Studying Cardiac Art, the exhibition is not a charity. We're a charity. We're obviously based in the States. If you couldn't tell from our weird accents. So I mean, there's always a question: what is hard charge? Because when you look at our page, we do a lot. But yeah, we're geared on very much bringing awareness, and that is through a lot of video, and then doing stuff like this, creative ways of thinking outside of the box, of getting people to think about something in a new way, in an easy way. Like a picture's worth 1,000 words. When you see a woman with AED pads on, okay, I know where the pads go. That's great. Let me save a life. We do donate AEDs, and we do free CPR and AED courses because we know not only from the preventive side, we also push for hard screenings, but we know especially that to tackle and get better survival rate, which is about like globally 9% for survivor of cardiac arrest, that we need big awareness. We not only need pushing for hard screenings to get detected before someone collapses and detects they have a cardiomyopathy, but then also if something happens and they go into cardiac arrest, that they're trained, that they know what to do, and that they have accessible defibrillators to use on them. So we tackle a lot of that. Interesting in different ways, and sometimes we flash the boobs to do it.
Brilliant, thank you.
Anybody else? Ladies first, I think.
Yeah, it's not a question, it's more of a statement. I must say that 7 years ago today, I had a massive heart attack. I was lucky that the paramedics got to me just seconds before I actually went into arrest. The defibrillator was used twice. I'm fine now, although I have congestive heart failure, and I've also had several TIAs connected to that event. 7 years, and my life is still full. I still work full time, and so,
I was just going to say about children being able to, because Stephanie did mention earlier on about my son actually took charge and when someone had a cardiac arrest, the person survived it. My son told everyone what to do. He was only 8 at the time. But both my children were brought up with my ex-wife and myself running Heartstart Havering. So they would always grab the mannequins and try and do CPR. By the time they were 5, they could use an AED.
Wow. Any more questions? There were 2 very quick hands last time. Any more thoughts, questions from the audience? Please.
I just wondered the percentage of, I always heard that once somebody had had a cardiac arrest, the life expectancy or changes. Is there facts and figures around that? Doctors?
We'll look at this, shall we?
So it all varies, it depends. So after a heart attack, so heart attack, cardiac arrest is 2 different things.
Okay.
The way I put it is heart attack is plumbing, so your artery is blocked. Cardiac arrest is mainly electrical, your fuse is not. So that's critical. So with the heart attack, what happened? Let's say the main coronary artery disease that provide the left ventricle and pump the heart all around the body. So if that one blocked, then the big chunk of the muscle is not starving from. Then it doesn't do the job. So then the electrical signal there go all over the place. That can cause ventricular tachycardia, then they lead to a cardiac arrest. So when somebody has a heart attack, we give a window of 30 to 60 minutes to open the artery so that the muscle is viable, it's still good to contract. When that doesn't happen, the muscle necrose or die a bit, which can cause fibrous tissue. And then these are the things that can cause the ectopic beats, So in Raintown, like people say, my heart skipped a beat. So that's extra beat that they get. So these can lead to arrhythmias, ventricular tachycardia. So it all depends. So after somebody has a heart attack or have even had a shock through the external defibrillator, it stunned the heart. The heart take a few days to recover, even month as well. So it varies to individual, and family history will play a big part of it. Lifestyle, hypertension, high blood cholesterol, diabetes is the worst one. So there is several factors that will affect how the heart will recover.
It's a very resilient organ, it seems.
But it's amazing.
Wow.
With you two sisters, and you both got cardiac hypertrophy, is it?
Yeah, it's
Hypertrophy.
enlarging, yeah.
So it's enlarged, so it's not as effective as a normal sized heart. But is that congenital? Were you born with that defect?
Yeah, so it's actually a genetic condition, and we didn't actually know we had it until our mom's sister went in for like a normal checkup, and she found out that she was living with the condition. So then we got tested. So then through an EKG and echocardiogram, we found out Hannah and I also have it. So fun fact, we have 6 older brothers, and then it's me, Hannah, and 1 more sister. So in our family, our mom also has the condition, our brother here has the condition, and then we have another brother that carries the gene as well.
So did you have the implants prophylactically, or did you wait till you had
So,
a heart attack?
no, so we had it, like, proactively. So once, I got diagnosed, and then a year later, because age centers the thickness of the heart, because there's a mutation in your gene that doesn't control. So mine was, normal's 11 millimeters, sorry. Mine was 22. So you could, that's already thick. And then a year later, it was almost 30. Just in like a year, it really grew a lot. And so because of the growth and having like those ventricular tachycardia arrhythmias, I had episodes of that they detected on the heart monitor. I was eligible for an implantable defibrillator, and then it saved my life 6 months after getting it when I went into cardiac arrest in my sleep.
Okay.
So yeah, that's
So
what
you
we
kicked in at
yes.
that point.
Yeah, I kicked in twice and needed
Right,
to
okay.
get it done twice, yeah, to get back to a normal rhythm, to
Yeah.
be.
So I will just touch on this. So hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, there's different types. There's one when the muscle is thin, just dilated, and then one other time the muscle is very thick. So that evolved. We spoke about the protein genotype that we have. Some, if they are genetic, and then that will muscle grow in size, and then the cavity inside get very small. And then what happened is, unlike other muscle in your body, they get stretched, and the protein inside the muscle just disturb all the balance, and then hence causing these arrhythmias like fast heart rate.
So is it like an aneurysm in the heart muscle?
Not aneurysm, but aneurysm is like a burst, like a ruptured, but this one is different. It just grows. The protein is growing inside and just get thickened.
Yeah, but for the thinner one?
So for the thinner one is different. So the wall is thinner, but the cavity is big.
Oh, okay, okay.
Imagine that you're inflating a balloon and you've either got a really thickened balloon that's
Yeah,
really
which is
hard
hard
to
to
inflate,
inflate.
or you've got a floppy one that's
Yeah.
kind of, stretched
Yeah,
and not.
a baggy one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing, I think the problem with like soaps and TV and stuff, they use the term heart attack and cardiac arrest interchangeably. And so much of the population just don't understand that they are 2 very, very different things. And that is another issue of just culturally, we use the words interchangeably and actually they mean very different things.
And cardiac arrest isn't necessarily due to the heart, it can be due to the brain.
A cardiac arrest is where the heart has stopped, but it's electrical. So
Yeah,
a heart attack can lead to a cardiac arrest,
yeah,
but a cardiac arrest can occur because of a host of other things.
yeah.
When people talk about heart attacks, they're talking about sort of plumbing problems.
Blockage.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. It is hard, and that's the problem when culturally we start using these words interchangeably, and then similarly, children, when they have a cardiac arrest, quite often it's a respiratory arrest. It's less likely to be the heart, it's often more likely to be a respiratory cause. But we just say heart attack.
Question. So with the condition that Hannah and Bethany have, how does it affect the pumping of the blood on a daily basis, having a bigger heart? Does it mean that when, say, the blood is being pumped, if the heart is enlarged and there's a smaller camera, then it doesn't pump the blood out so well?
So dilated cardiomyopathy, when the heart muscle is thin and the cavity is big, so what we call ejection fraction, so how much the heart is pumping out. A normal percentage is above 55%. So then by doing an ultrasound of the heart, that's when we quantify these measurements. So then somebody less than 35% will be classed as severely impaired. So 35 up to 50, that's moderately impaired. So that's how we quantify. However, for the hypertrophic, when the heart is a bit more thickened, so the ejection fraction could be 60, 50, 55. So it's more dynamic, you were saying. So
And think of pumping, I'm going to use you as an example, Charlie, because I used to do this in high school presentations or secondary school presentations. So if I were to touch my toes, there's space in between here, right? So blood can pump. We're like pregnant in our heart with HCM because it's thick. So her bending down, there's less room, so there's less blood going in. So then that, you obstruct the blood flow, and that's where issues can arise with the condition that we have.
Yes.
Sorry.
Please go on. Who's next?
I was just going to ask. Do you want to go first?
I didn't see the hand.
Okay, so when I see a defibrillator, how would we say it quickly? I get a bit of fear about it. Because obviously I should have been here a bit earlier to learn about it, but I'll talk to you after that. How do you think we might be able to use art and not have it so clinical? Because it's a very important thing, but this is a really cool conversation in the mix between art and the medical world. How to bring the conversation to the actual boxes themselves and when we see them in our everyday life, because they're becoming more and more apparent, all over the place. I mean, if there's 148 on the Isle of Wight, that's amazing. So how do you think we could use art, or how you would use art to, demystify the situation a little bit and not, because it causes fear, I think. If anybody looks at me, oh my gosh, if I ever had to do that. But my friend's got a heart condition, so you just never know, do you? So just
what's interesting is, compared to clinical practice, they are such a simplified version, and they could not be more simplified if you tried, because compared to what I think medics and clinicians are used to, the ones we use in hospitals are completely different. They've got so many more dials, and the onus is on you to program it, whereas it really is, I guess it looks like a scary box, but when you open it, it is literally a few buttons. It tells you, it talks to you. It will not fire off if there's not a need for it to do. It will talk to you. The picture, there's no fancy complicated. And I think maybe kind of doing some more visuals of sharing a close-up of what it looks like would be useful. That is probably good feedback to everybody. Because it is interesting that from clinicians' perspective, it is such a
It's so simple, yeah. My brother's a paramedic, so I'm just but for me, I'd go, wow.
I was just going to quickly say, sometimes.
Well, yeah, you would just do it. I would just do it.
But sometimes on the boxes they say professional use only. So as a regular person, you're like, I'm not a professional. I don't know what that is. So it's right. How could you write on the sign that says, hey, you can use this, or anybody can use this device? Simple visual terms like that to remind people that yes, you can use this device and you can go and save someone's life for sure.
Who wants to answer?
I think on that topic, firstly, like if anyone wants to see a beautiful version of a defib box downstairs, Bethany Saldana has linked up a trainer. But also like if it's a case of making the boxes less fearful, I think there is a big benefit to them looking medical so that people know what they are. But with the handheld devices coming in where you can have something that you can put in your handbag for your whole family, that would be an interesting place to actually make them a lot more of an accessory that just happens to save your life. So that would maybe be something interesting for us.
I'll keep answering the question that came from the back first, though, that's all right. So on behalf of the industry, the simplest thing with all of this is education and awareness. So coming to this exhibition to kind of have the conversation about it is fantastic. That's opened, the doors to not, to people just talking about them, etc. But from on a community level, there's lots of things that go on in the community, and even though it's mandatory now in schools to teach CPR to children, even primary schools. It only came in like a year or 2 years ago. So that's a new change that happened that's out there. So again, I'm going to say Gen Z and all those, they're going to know what it is because it's in their conversations, part of their education, literally. But also as well, there's international and national events going on. So next month, October the 16th, worldwide is International Restart a Heart Day. So if you go to a train station, for example, you might find there's firefighters there teaching you how to do CPR 5 minutes before you catch the train. Well, there might be, you drop your kid off to school on that day, and there's somebody there at the school gates showing you how to do CPR. This is a massive thing in the UK. It's grown much more awareness for it. So again, education around it is definitely the way to kind of help be aware of it. And after today, I think everybody in this room hopefully will, next time you see a big yellow box bolted to outside of the wall of a community building or a scout hut or something, they'll go, I know what's in there, and that's already debunked that fear, what comes with it.
I didn't mean it sounds so serious as I was making it, but because we're connecting art and there is humour and there's other elements, it's just, I didn't mean to sound so serious. I'm not a serious person. But
Awareness, it's just awareness. But it's
I was just going to say, surely the first place to start with taking away the fear is to teach children how to use it. If they grow up with it, the fear won't be there because it's just normal. Like if your kids when they were 5 use it.
Yeah. They're growing up with them in the house because people are using the drone. I just want to know.
So it's really reassuring to say that it's already compulsory in schools.
Can I just say that you're not on your own, because you actually have to phone for the ambulance to unlock
That's right.
the DV machine. So you're not on your own. If you've got that far, if you've been able to get a telephone signal, if you've been able to phone for an ambulance, they will give you a code to release the box which is nearest to you. If you happen to have a phone signal to do that, and you don't look on Google, because they're not all registered on Google. And I think the problem is mainly in communities is actually the community knowing where these defib machines are, and also making sure somehow that the ambulance or emergency services know where they are. Because as we looked on Google, it doesn't mention the one in Dursley, it doesn't mention the one in Cam. So they're not obviously all registered with the emergency services.
No, and that's so there's in terms of kind of registries and how they do that. The biggest registry we have here in the UK, which is taking the lead, is called the British Heart Foundation, The Circuit. That is the biggest one. It's actually sponsored by Microsoft as well. So it's fully covered, and so you can not only find the nearest defibrillator through that, The Circuit, but you can also register the defibrillator. And what we would encourage you to do is to tie that to the ambulance service, so that should you call 999, they'll pick up the phone, they'll immediately look at it and go, right, we know where it is. Can you go grab it? This is your nearest one. It's 50 yards down the road. So so this circuit is the biggest promotional one out there, and it's tied in with the British Heart Foundation.
Steve, how do you do it? Perhaps on the other right then?
Yeah, can I just say that every defibrillator we put out, this is my island by the way, this is my picture of how I focused the Isle of Wight one day, you know, every street, every business, every shop has a defibrillator. But can I also say that every defibrillator we put out, or every defibrillator that is out there, should have what they call a guardian. The guardian is someone who checks the defibrillator, makes sure the pads is okay, makes sure the battery's not flat, and generally looks after it, and also registers it on the circuit. But we've found since COVID, many shops, businesses have had a guardian, maybe left or whatever, and that guardian hasn't been replaced. Hence why there's defibs out there with no batteries, no pads. Being someone who had to have a defibrillator to save my life, my charity and myself, I cannot go to bed thinking of a defibrillator out there is going to be used. And I know it's a fact because I had a phone call from someone to say that they went to use a defibrillator, got it out of the cabinet, and the battery is flat. Now I couldn't sleep at night knowing that. So physically, every time I put a defibrillator out there, when I first put the two out there, it took me about an hour to go around and check it. Now we've got 147, it takes me a fortnight. But I physically go around and check them defibrillators. If pads need doing, we fundraise, we donate, we put new pads, batteries, likewise. And they're all kept clean, and they're all, because as I say, that is a lifesaver, you know, and then unless, you know, they are looked after, then, you know, they might just run off, you know.
One more question? We'll have one more question from the audience, if that's okay, because we've got a few more admin items to finish with.
No, I just want to ask the gentleman from the Isle of Wight. It looks like you're the guardian for the whole of the Isle of Wight.
They're my trustees.
How much knowledge do you have to be a guardian? And how, you know, to look after the defibrillators, and also how often do they need to be checked? And if they've been used, do you need to know that they've been used? So is there a record of them being used?
Yeah, so being a guardian, you will get a notification back from the circuit to say your defibrillator's been used. So myself, if mine's been used, I will go out and collect it, or the ambulance service will let me know. I will go out and collect it, we service it, we put new pads in, because the pads can only be used once. We deregister it from the circuit to say that, you know, it's not rescue ready. So when we've cleaned it, we've checked it, we put new pads, check the battery, put it back in, and we go back on the circuit to say it's rescue ready.
And ideally, would you like one guardian per defibrillator?
Ideally.
Yeah.
You don't, I mean, yeah, it just takes, you know, all depends how big your OCD is. Mine is, my OCD is that bad, my wife has to come on me now and check that the doors are locked. Otherwise I'll keep going back, and then fortnight turns into a month, and, you know, I get nowhere, so. It just needs someone or two people that, you know, really.
Close by the defibrillator.
By the defibrillator,
And have
yeah.
systems that if you go away on holidays, up to
Exactly.
the castle. So that would be something that maybe the local council could get involved in.
They could do, I mean, we've got our council on the Isle of Wight. I actually look after 3 councils' defibrillators on the Isle of Wight, because I just haven't got time, or, you know, it's a lot, you know, a lot of shops and businesses we found, yeah, we'll have a defibrillator, but we don't want the responsibility of looking after it, or keeping it clean or whatever. So, you know, that's what I just ask that, you know, every time a defibrillator goes out there, someone is prepared to look after it.
Can I say in Dursley, I think the best place to have a heart attack or collapse is near or inside Sainsbury's, because they've revived a couple of people in the last 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I actually collapsed inside the medical centre on the Isle of Wight, and they didn't have a defibrillator.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, lucky enough, if you can have an heart attack or cardiac arrest where nurses come out, doctors come out, CPR, someone has to run up to the church in our local village to get the disease blocked.
Yeah.
And just another quick little story, funny enough, 2 months ago, I had a phone call from someone who's looking after that defibrillator in that church to say, needing a new battery, but the church didn't have enough money to make, to have a battery.
Yeah.
So I was quite pleased with taking that one over and looking after it,
Yeah.
so.
And it's the same with the renewal of the pads. If it's a community centre,
Yeah.
they need to have the funds.
I mean, they're a little bit
to
like
support
your
that.
ink printer things you get at home, like, you know, the ink printer can cost 30 quid, but the ink can cost 300 quid.
Yeah.
It's the same as, like, you know, it's,
But if the adhesive's dried out on the back of the pads, then it's worse than, or the conductive gel, it's worse than useless.
And a great place upcoming to have a cardiac arrest will be the community centre where the soul AED will be donated, so.
Would I have a question, Stephanie? Do you want to raise a final point?
Yeah, I want to make a
Please.
point, I don't want to ask a question. But I was thinking after what Amy said is like, actually I would like to know is like, I think we already said like where this could go next. Like, I think there was the question, what's it doing now, but where it could go next. And now my thought, after hearing Amy is like, this was about, women and the AED pads and stuff like that and normalizing it. And now I'm imagining, seeing pictures of children using the products and stuff like that. And also, I mean, when you look at it statistically, it's, women and minorities who have a lower survival rate and stuff like that. So it is something maybe to go moving forward. I'd also like to say is like, this was also to me about, community and meeting like amazing people. So could we like just ask like, who here, just to raise your hands just so you could then meet each other afterwards, like who here is like, say, living with a heart condition and just. So now you see like your people, and then I would say, how about you stand up if I call you a bionic Dave, if you're a bionic Dave, stand up, and you want to be like. Cardiac arrest. So I was like, I mean, your people are here, and you see like younger people and people living along with that. I mean, I think it's just like beautiful, and I hope you all meet each other, be friends. And I guess I'm going to say too is thank you to the people here with like products to help us, to the medical field, we're indebted to the AED manufacturers, to the advocates that are here that have done so much. You have to come and see Inez's product, help with the CPR. I mean, please, like there's so many resources right in this room right now, and it's just been amazing to have you here at this inaugural exhibition. And Charlie, like, what a vision you had, just like.
I didn't want to say anything after that, but there was one thing I just wanted to say. I just thought bringing it back to the boobs issue and the gender issue. I think it's a really poignant thing to take home for everybody and to say to everyone else, this is not my thoughts, it was Bethany and Hannah. I interviewed them earlier this week, and they said something that really struck out with me, and that I know I will, whenever I'm having a conversation with someone, is make the decision now. Are you prepared to get the boobs out? Because in the moment, that's when you're going to hesitate. And I think a lot of people in the public who are not used to these things, it's inevitable that there's going to be a moment of pause, of freeze, fight, flight, what's going to kick in. But they both said to me, if you make that decision now, when you're not in that situation, if it comes up, you've already made that decision. I'm prepared to get the boobs out. So when you have it going forward and having this conversation with people, talk to them and ask the question, are you prepared to get the boobs out? Because if they've thought about it then, in that moment, they won't hesitate when it comes to it, if it comes to it.
So just on that point, I think no need to fit in, but really start looking at the idealized women and the real women and thinking of them,
Can we also ask the manufacturers of the AEDs to actually not just have a male torso?
Yeah.
It's visual, it's
On the
visual.
stickers, yeah, on the stickers on the pads, because really that's how we do it. They get confused, like, oh, there's lumps, where do the pads go?
It's only for men, isn't it? That's what it looks
I'll
like.
tell what happens, so we have two pictures, one with the breast, one with the boob and one with the boob. That's all right, if I can say that, man breast. So I can happily show you that's not a problem. For us. Yeah.
Okay, and you have to stop that thing where they say in the training, they're like, oh, and then you put your hands so you go across the nipple line. Like, hello, but I'm the only woman that's
You don't realise you're gonna hear.
So I think we have one maybe small agenda item that's left, which is to perhaps donate an AED to the local community. I don't think we have anybody from the community, so to do.
Yes.
Oh, we do.
Yes.
Please come and join us. Let's embarrass you in front of everybody else, shall we?
And are we gonna have to get Steve to come all the way up here to make the guardian of this?
We'll all present. We'll all present.
We've got a photographer right here, we've got loads of people.
Make sure the Jersey Gazette gets it as well.
Oh, could somebody bring in the cabinet? That was a donation from the RJ Foundation. Their son did not make it because the AED was not accessible, and they were sorry they couldn't be here, but they kind of donated that cabinet.
Yeah, it's just awkward, it's just awkward. Right, we can hold on.
Cuddle up a little bit, very nice.
Let's just stack a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure it's all.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, we're doing that first.
Again, look at me. Brilliant. Keep far away, it doesn't quite work.
Can I just say a few words?
Of course, thanks everybody.
As I say, it's fate, I think, that seems to have brought me here today. As I say, it's 7 years ago exactly since I had my heart attack. And to have this in the community, we started talking a few weeks ago about raising funds for a defibrillator with Andy and the air ambulance. And we started putting plans together to get some money. And here we are being presented a few days later. And it was everything's just brought us together to have this at the community centre, which is used by hundreds and hundreds of people. And we're next to a sports field as well, so it couldn't be going to a better place.
We have £1,000 towards another one of the ambulance. So we've got 650 to raise. We'll get another one. We're thinking to put it on the toilet block opposite the old spot because we've got one in the surgery, but obviously surgery's closed during the day. So watch Facebook and stuff. We've got to raise another 650.
Wow. As I say, I'm not going to summarise the conversation. Right, so we're not going to get kicked out here at all. We've got until 5 o'clock for a little bit of networking, a bit of mingling. Obviously, we've got the art. We've still got the devices downstairs. And you're all warmly invited to what I term an after party. I'm not sure if there's any alcohol involved in the party. At the Oak Kingsmill, it's within walking distance, 4 or 5 minutes around the corner. Everybody's welcome. There might be a bit of a spread on, so please come and join us. Exhibition gone all on. So, please feel free to
just flying solo.